The Chalcedonian Definition. At the Ecumenical Council of Chalcedon, a definition was proposed that achieved universal agreement in the Church. The creed that was affirmed at Chalcedon says that Christ is truly God and truly man, consubstantial with the Father according to the Godhead, and consubstantial with us according to the manhood. One and the same Christ, Son, Lord, only begotten, to be acknowledged in two natures, inconfusedly, unchangeably, indivisibly, inseparably. This affirms that Jesus is every bit as much God as the Father is, and at the same time every bit as much human as we are. The phrase used to describe this understanding of the two natures of Christ is hypostatic union. This refers to the perfect union of two hypostases, natures, in the one person of Christ. The four words describing how the two natures are related to each other are making two important points. The first two words, inconfusedly and unchangeably, are ruling a monophysitist understanding of Christ out of bounds. It means that the two natures of Christ cannot be confused, that is, collapsed together. We are not allowed, in light of what is revealed in the biblical witness, to think of Christ as having some kind of nature that is somehow different than truly divine nature and human nature. Also, the human nature does not somehow change into the divine nature, nor the divine into the human, or that both natures merge into a third nature. Both natures are indeed there. The second two words, indivisibly and inseparably, emphasize that though there are two natures, they are utterly united to each other. We cannot talk about the natures as if they were separate. Why would we ever want to separate the two natures of Christ? Historically, the reason has been because of presuppositions about human or divine nature that are violated by the actual fact of the incarnation, usually as a result of a presupposed dualism. Once again, as we have argued earlier, if we see that God has actually done something that challenges our preconceived ideas of what God can and cannot do, we must allow the fact that we encounter in the gospel to overturn our presuppositions. Somehow, even the things that we think are beneath God, such as suffering, are taken up in the person of Christ. So, what is at stake in the question, how are the two natures of Christ related, is extremely important for us because the two views ruled as inappropriate for understanding Christ as he is put forth in the New Testament end up denying one of the natures or the other. Monophysitism finally denies, for any practical purposes, that Christ really has a human nature, as it has been swallowed up in the infinity of the divine nature. Nestorianism finally denies that the human Christ really has a divine nature, because his divinity recedes at key points in his life, such as the crucifixion. If indeed both natures are really necessary for the incarnation to truly be an act of God that penetrates into our humanity, and it does, for Christian salvation to make any sense at all, then we must come to some conclusion like the one reached at Chalcedon. It is important to remember that the interaction of the two natures within the single person of Christ is to be thought of in Chalcedonian terms rather than the two alternatives, which were declared to be heresy. This view, and the implications that flow from it, will be assumed for all the rest of this work.